Assalamu alaikum. In this video I will explain the way to use breadboard, what it is and how to use it. So let's start. So this is a breadboard and it is used to facilitate in connecting different electrical components together. One of the electrical components could be a resistor as shown over here. So you can easily connect this resistor to many other resistors using breadboard easily. Okay, so before starting, let's see how these holes are connected to each other. So we can divide this breadboard into 4 parts. This is the first part, this is the second part, third part and fourth part. First part and second part both are exact copies of each other. Second part and third part both are exact copies of each other in terms of connection of the holes. So let's start with the first part. In the first part, this hole is connected to this hole. Similarly, this hole is connected to this hole. All of these holes up to this point, you can see a wide gap over here. All of these holes starting from this point up to the point after which the gap is wide, all of these holes are connected to each other horizontally. All of these holes are connected to each other horizontally up to this point. Similarly, all of these holes are connected to each other horizontally. The connection is internal. If you remove the sticker, you can see that there is an internal connection between all of these holes. But this hole is not connected to this hole. This hole is not connected to this hole. That is to say that the holes are vertically connected. Similarly, if you go to the right hand side of this wide gap, all of these holes are horizontally connected. There is no vertical connection. Whatever I have said, जो कुछ मैंने फर्स्ट पार्ट के लिए कहा वही फोर्थ पार्ट के लिए भी एप्लीकेबल है. Okay, let's start with the second part. In second part, all of these holes are vertically connected. This hole is connected to this one is connected to this one. So all of these holes up to this point are connected vertically. But this hole is not connected to this hole. This part has no connection with this part. Similarly, this part has no connection with this part. This part has no connection with this part. So all these 4 parts are not connected to each other. You have to keep this thing in mind. So ये जितने भी आपको कॉलम्स नज़र आ रहे हैं, ये फर्स्ट कॉलम है, सेकंड कॉलम है, थर्ड कॉलम है. all of these columns, in all of these columns the holes are connected vertically to each other. Okay, I want to connect this resistor R1 according to this circuit diagram, and I want to basically patch this resistor onto this circuit board. So one way of doing it is to insert one leg over here and the other leg over here. So you can see that both the legs of the resistor, this leg and this leg, point A and point B of the resistor, both the points are not connected to each other, since the columns in this part of the breadboard, the columns are not attached to each other horizontally. The holes in a column are attached vertically to each other. The same connection could be done like this. This is perfectly fine because, as I mentioned earlier, that the holes to the left of the wide gap are not connected to the holes to the right of the wide gap. So this hole is not connected to this hole internally. There is a gap over here. Okay, internally there is a gap. Pause for a moment and tell me whether this connection is correct or not. Is this connection correct? No, because now both of these legs are connected to each other internally. As I mentioned earlier, that this hole is horizontally connected to this hole. Similarly, This connection is also not correct. This connection, this way of connecting the resistor is not correct, since this hole is connected to this hole internally, hence this leg is connected to this leg, which is not required in this circuit diagram. Okay, now I want to connect both of these resistors such that point B of R1 is connected to point C of R2. So how can I do it? Connect R1 and then connect R2. So you can see that right over here. This is point B of R1 and this is point C of point C of R2. So both of these legs are connected internally to each other. This is point A and this is point D. Point A of R1, point D of R2. Next requirement is to connect point A of R1 to point C of R2 and point B of R1 to point D of R2. So what I can do is I can remove this resistor and insert one leg over here and the other leg over here. So now you can see that point A of R1 is internally connected to point C of R2 and point B of R1 is connected to point D of R2. So this connection is perfectly fine. Okay, another way of connecting these two resistors is R1 R2. So this is R1, this is R2, you can see, but this connection is incomplete since this point is yet to be connected to this point and this point is yet to be connected to this point. So you can use jumpers to connect both these points at both sides. This is a jumper wire. Jumper wire is simply a conductor, and how will I connect? I can connect it like this. Insert one leg over here of the jumper over here and the other leg of the jumper over here. Clear? Now you can see that this leg is connected to this leg externally through this jumper wire. Similarly, I can connect the lower side of R1 and R2 together using another jumper. Connect one column to the second column, to the column where second resistor is present, and now you can see that this leg is connected to this leg of the transistor externally through this jumper wire. This is a device which is used to find resistance, voltage, current and many other useful parameters. So in this video we will restrict ourselves to finding the resistance of a resistor. For that purpose we will adjust this knob between this point and this point. You can see that the range or the space between these 2 points is related to finding the resistance. So this is the resistance, this is the symbol of ohm. So this knob can be adjusted anywhere between these 2 points. If you adjust this knob beyond these points while finding the resistance of the resistor, you will either get incorrect value or you will risk burning out this multimeter. ठीक है. सो सेकंड काम आप लोगों ने ये करना है कि ये जो 2 प्रोब्स हैं मल्टीमीटर के ये जो 2 प्रोब्स हैं, ये 2 प्रोब्स हैं, these are called connecting probes. You have to connect these connecting probes to these 2 terminals of the multimeter. एक प्रोब आपने यहाँ पे कनेक्ट करना है रेजिस्टेंस फाइंड करने के लिए. ये देखिए रेजिस्टेंस का सिंबल जो है बना हुआ है ओहम्स. तो एक रेड प्रोब जो है आपने इस पॉइंट पे कनेक्ट करना है और ब्लैक प्रोब जो है वो आपने कॉमन पॉइंट पे कनेक्ट करना है. सो कॉमन पॉइंट पे ब्लैक प्रोब और रेड प्रोब जो है वो आपने कनेक्ट करना है ये सेकंड टर्मिनल के साथ इस मल्टीमीटर के. Okay, now we are ready to find the resistance of say this resistor over here. So to find the resistance of this resistor, what you can do is connect this resistor to the breadboard के साथ इसको कनेक्ट कर लें और फिर मल्टीमीटर का एक प्रोब जो है वो इधर कनेक्ट कर लें और मल्टीमीटर का जो दूसरा प्रोब है वो आप अभी कनेक्ट करके दिखाता हूँ. मल्टीमीटर का दूसरा प्रोब आप दूसरी टांग के साथ लगा लें. ठीक है, ये आप देख सकते हैं दोनों प्रोब्स दोनों लेग्स रेजिस्टर के साथ आपने कनेक्ट करना है जी. तो उसके बाद नॉब को आपने एडजस्ट करना है. तो ये देखें नॉब की को एडजस्ट मैंने किया है 2000 के ऊपर. तो वैल्यू आ रही है 1030. सो द वैल्यू ऑफ दिस रेजिस्टेंस इज़ 1030 ओहम्स. तो से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मैं नॉब को 20K पे सेट करता हूँ, ये आप देख सकते हैं कि आप 20K के ऊपर ये नॉब सेट हो चुका है. तो यहाँ पे देखें वैल्यू आ रही है 1.02. सो दिस इज़ नॉट 1.02 ओहम्स, इट इज़ 1.02 किलो ओहम्स.
ओके, से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर ये जो नॉब है इसको यहाँ पे प्लेस किया जाए तो डिस्प्ले के ऊपर आने वाली रीडिंग को मल्टीप्लाई किया जाना चाहिए 10⁻⁶ के साथ. सो कैपिटल M का मतलब है 10⁻⁶. अगर नॉब यहाँ पे हो तो यहाँ पे डिस्प्ले होने वाली रीडिंग को 10⁻³ के साथ मल्टीप्लाई करनी है. और अगर नॉब यहाँ पे प्लेस हो या यहाँ पे प्लेस हो तो डिस्प्ले होने वाली रीडिंग को किसी भी नंबर के साथ मल्टीप्लाई करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है.